This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
This episode is brought to you by Perfect Bistro Cat Food. Cats, this ad is for you. Has your human ever called you picky, persnickety, choosy? If so, Perfect Bistro Cat Food is for you. With ingredients like wild-caught tuna and pasture-raised lamb, tantalizing textures, and delectable flavors that meet even the most discerning cat standards. You're not picky, you're just perfectionists. Perfect Bistro, mealtime perfection for every cat. Have your human visit perfectbistro.com.
Hear that? That's now Crispy and McCrispy Strips meeting Creamy Caesar Sauce. Sounds extra crispy. Caesar Sauce at McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
People who sell or make promises about their program saying you will look this certain way if you do these things. The message might be guaranteed that you lose 10 pounds in 10 weeks. Guaranteed that you'll lose 2 dress sizes. Guaranteed that you'll lose the belly. You cannot promise that. And what happens when they make those promises and then they don't come true? It's not that you as a consumer blame them. It's that you as a consumer blame yourself. You feel like you failed and didn't do it right. And it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with they couldn't guarantee those things.
I'm Jessica Valant. I'm a physical therapist, women's health expert, and Pilates teacher, and my goal is to help all women feel strong, safe, and secure in their bodies. In this podcast, I'll share expert advice, facts, amazing guests, stories, compassion, and hope to help you meet your body in all seasons of life.
Hi, welcome back to Meet Your Body. I am so excited. We are entering our 6th season of Meet Your Body. It is August 2026, and we are just going to dive in and continue with information. And it's always my goal that that information empowers you, encourages you, and educates you. Those are my main goals with what we bring you. So we'll bring you solo episodes. We will bring you lots of amazing guests. And we'll continue to dive in, hopefully, to what really matters and is important to you. And today, we are talking about my pet peeves in health and wellness. And so, already after talking about education and encouraging and empowering and special guests, then I say, I'm going to talk to you about my pet peeves, but there's a reason for it. Because it really does make a difference with how you receive information. So a couple weeks ago, we replayed one of our most popular episodes all about health advice and what to do when you feel overwhelmed with the amount of health advice and health information there is out there. And you guys, this is just getting to more and more and more. We are just piling on with how much information we have access to. Now, in many ways, this is an amazing thing. I mean, I think back to being a kid and really not having any idea what was going on with my body, not only with my health history, but just with the natural changes that happen with being a female. And then I think back to my mom, my mother-in-law, the information they had available to them, even less than my generation did, and how that really did affect their ability to advocate for themselves, to ask questions of doctors, to move their bodies, to feel empowered and strong in their bodies. I am so proud to be a generation that is learning about the importance of lifting weights, that I'm showing that to my daughter, that I can use my voice to stand for myself and ask the right questions to get the information I need to, again, feel empowered. I'm so proud to be in that generation. And I really, really hope we pass that on to our daughters. With that, so with all of that to say that there is so much information available that we don't know how to parse it out. We don't know sometimes who to trust. We don't know how to really have discernment around competing information. I mean, we will be told something from the person on the left and something that completely disregards that from the person on the right, and both are sure that they are correct. Now, we're adding in information from AI, and I have already been getting emails from people asking me if I could decipher a plan, an exercise plan, fitness plan, or a health plan that they had AI create for them. I mean, my mind is just spinning with the amount of things out there for us. And that is where I come to you now with some of my pet peeves. And that's probably not the best way to put it, but really, these are the things I could also say they're red flags to me, because that is really what they are. When I see or hear these things happening, they're a red flag to me. They tell me I might not trust other things that this person says. I might want to step carefully around this information. It might be information that doesn't apply to me because I can't take it in necessarily. That is what these things tell me. So from a personal standpoint, that is where I stand with the things we're going to talk about today. And also professionally, I stand by these things. If it is another healthcare professional, but it comes from any of these points of view or these places, I'm going to have a red flag for it. These are the things I talk to my clients about. So I'm using it actually to help you have some of that wisdom and discernment for yourself, and that maybe these would apply to you as well. All right. So we're going to dive into them. I have 6 listed here. All right. So in no particular order, we're going to jump into the first thing. First thing that is, again, one of my pet peeves in health and wellness and fitness in the industry, coming from any place in women's health. And that is judging others for their choices, especially if you've never been in their shoes. And yeah, this could apply to anything in life, okay? Not just health and wellness, not just fitness. This could apply to all places in life, all aspects and categories of life. But I'm coming at it from this place of health and wellness and fitness. And what I mean by this, I'm going to jump right into the category that I really, really see it happening right now, which is the category of peptides and weight loss drugs, such as GLP-1s. All right. But this has been happening for centuries when it comes to women's health, women's bodies, people making judgments about women's bodies and their choices, the choices that they make for themselves. This has been happening forever, and I've seen it in all different trends, all different ways throughout my career and my life. Right now, I'm seeing it very specifically in this place. So it really kind of was a light bulb for me recently. In the next few weeks, we're going to have a guest, an amazing interview with an expert on GLP-1s, bringing you all the information, because that is what's important to me, that you can make the choice that's right for you and that you get valuable, empowering, individual information here. You can come here for the facts, but also that's laced with compassion and understanding without judgment. That's really important to me. So that information will be coming. But in that just short discussion that I had around GLP-1s, who did I get feedback? I got feedback from women absolutely sure that anyone on a GLP-1 is, taking a shortcut, that people don't need it, that it's absolutely a choice, that they don't need to make it. All of these women giving me that side of it. I'm not putting judgment on anyone here because people are speaking from their own lived experiences. The thing is, what really bothered me about that discussion was that women, like particularly on the side of women who aren't taking a weight loss medication, were automatically judging without having any information around the case, judging any woman who was on a weight loss medication. That was the glaring piece to me, right? That stood out. And I have seen that time and time and time again. I have gotten it personally. I have gotten judgment from choosing to have implants after my double mastectomy. From people saying, you are putting toxins in your body. There's nothing healthy about that. And it's not always individual messages I get, even though I've gotten a couple of them. It's really more I see post after post and so much information from out there from people claiming to be standing on the side of women and then also shooting those of us down who've made certain choices when they've never stood in our shoes. And I know there's a fine line between judgment and also giving the best health information we can. For example, that's what I try to do here is give you the best information that I can. I am not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to tell you, yeah, absolutely. You need to be lifting weights 2 to 3 times a week to help with muscle mass and bone density, right? We've talked about that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around that. I'm not going to tell you otherwise because that's the truth. I want you to have that. And also, I understand there are situations that is not always plausible. It could be a time issue. You are overwhelmed and overloaded as a caretaker, as a professional, and you have a hard time finding the time to do it. Maybe you have an autoimmune disease and you have tried lifting weights before and it makes you exhausted and you know you need to do it, but you don't know how to do it. And so you've stopped doing it. Maybe it's a matter of having the equipment available to you. Maybe it's a matter of having the time. Maybe you've had an injury in the past and it makes you fearful. Maybe you have pelvic floor issues and you really want to lift weights, but you don't know how to do it. I understand all of those pieces. So I'm not going to come at you with any judgment when you tell me, Jessica, I can't lift weights 2 to 3 times a week, or I don't know how. I'm going to say, you know what? Let me hold your hand and we're going to find a way for you to do that. I am absolutely going to find a way for you to reach your goals. It might be different or it might look different than the way someone else does it, but that doesn't mean it's bad or it's wrong because we are all different. That is the piece that is so important to me, is that there is not judgment around people, and we are women's health here, so I'm going to say women. There's not judgment around women making a choice that they feel is best for them with the information they have and the lived experience that they have. Yes, maybe they need more information. Maybe they need a compassionate hand to hold in the process to help be guided to a place that might help them reach their goals or be more healthy for them. Absolutely. But it's not okay when that's attempted from a place of judgment. So that's going to be that is really just one of my tenets in life, I think, as an individual and as a healthcare practitioner. And so that is going to be one of my top, that there is not judgment around what a woman decides to do or feels she needs to do for her body. Instead, we're going to come at it from a place of compassion, knowledge, nuance, education, and hopefully some joy and connection through it all. All right, the next one plays with this because I just said the word nuance. My next pet peeve, when I see posts, when I see information out there, this is one of my biggest ones, the lack of nuance and individual considerations in healthcare, fitness, and wellness. Oh my goodness. And what I mean by that is all the posts out there or information from healthcare professionals or things you Google that tell you there's one way to do something and this is it for everybody without taking into any consideration the nuance involved. And I can give you many examples of this. One would be women who are diagnosed with a prolapse or a pelvic floor dysfunction going to their doctor or Googling, can I still exercise? And the answer is no. Or Googling, can I squat? And the answer is just no. That is black or white. That is not true. And it is not helpful. It does not take into consideration any of the individual pieces or nuance involved with that. Because actually the answer is yes, you can still squat. You absolutely can. And we need to help you do it. There's going to be some nuance. It isn't just, yes, go out and do whatever you want. It is, Let's help teach you how to know your body. You need to actually avoid downward pressure. It's not the squat that's the problem. It is the downward pressure that might happen when you're doing a squat without pelvic floor mobility or while holding your breath. Do you hear how that's different? So if I teach you pelvic floor, pelvic mobility, if I teach you hip strength and hip mobility, if I teach you thoracic spine mobility, and if I teach you to avoid downward pressure and breathe correctly, guess what? Yes, you can do a squat. So let's do all of those things. But instead, clients and women just hear, no, you can't do that. So that's one case. Another case is the case of HRT and the conversations happening right now. It is so much around either, yes, everyone should do HRT, like everyone needs to be on it. You have to be on it. What are you doing? What are you thinking? It's going to help everybody. All the way to the other side of, no, you absolutely can't have it. Maybe you're a breast cancer survivor. So the answer is no. Or gosh, I'm so afraid I'm just going to avoid it all. There is an entirely middle part of that spectrum that most of us fall on. And it is absolutely okay if HRT isn't right for you and you don't want it. It is also absolutely okay if you are a breast cancer survivor and you feel left out of the conversation and you want to have a conversation with someone about if you are a candidate in some ways, because there's new research coming out and there's different options. We know from research that vaginal estrogen cream is actually completely safe for breast cancer survivors. Even the breast cancer organization tells us that. So you can see there's nuance, but we're not usually told that. One other example I'll bring up, and this happens a lot on social media. I see people who don't know any better or simply want clickbait is actually probably more accurate, say things like, every woman should be able to run a mile, do a pull-up, and what's the other one? Like do 10 push-ups to be healthy. That's a common one I see. So run a mile, do a pull-up, do 10 push-ups to be healthy. Do you want to know how many of those things I can do? I can run a mile if it's really, really, really slow. And if I can maybe take a break in the middle. I can do 10 push-ups, but I might have to do one on my knees because of my double mastectomy, but I might be able to get through 10 full. And I can't do a pull-up. Again, double mastectomy. I can't do a pull-up, but I'm working on it and I work on grip strength. So I wouldn't fit into that. And it really, and I'm okay because I understand my body and I understand again how to feel empowered. I'm okay saying that is not true. Give me a break. That is not true. But there are so many women who don't understand that, who will see that and say, oh my gosh, I guess I'm not healthy because I leak urine when I run a mile, so I can't run anymore. So I guess I'm not healthy. And it just causes them to feel defeated and like a failure. And I'm not okay with that. So I'm the one commenting on these posts. Hey, hi. What do you have to say? What about women with pelvic floor issues? What about women who've had a mastectomy? What about chronic illness? What about autoimmune disease? You can't tell if someone's healthy if they can run a mile or not. What you can tell is that, yeah, they probably have pretty good cardiovascular endurance, right? You can probably tell, oh, I bet you have a good coordination between your hips and your knee joints and your core. Like there are things I can absolutely tell about a person, but it has nothing to do with overall health. So the lack of nuance, and this is really across the spectrum. I've heard some healthcare professionals, some doctors that I really admire on social media talking about this, how we have lost, and maybe it was never there, I don't know. But the lack of nuance, the lack of the individual considerations. And that is happening more and more because we are in a clickbait, quick like or dislike place, right? People are scrolling really fast. And that is no place for nuance, which is probably why I talk so much, because nuance is important. So remember, nuance and individualism are extremely important. Now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Let's talk about bras. So, bras have always been a struggle for me, especially as a very small chested woman. I would look at bralettes, but then I would want more support, and then I would want to be able to feel sexy. I could just never find exactly what I was looking for. And then I had a double mastectomy and things became even more difficult. And I just resigned myself to either needing bras built into what I was wearing or possibly just not wearing them at all. Then enter Honey Love. You guys have heard me talk about Honey Love. I will shout them from the mountaintops. And so many of you have messaged me telling me you love them too. Honey Love is the perfect combination of function and beauty. So I have been wearing the crossover bra for months now. I adore it. And then I just got a new cross flex bra from them as well, which is meant for a little more activity. So if you're out on a hike, if you're doing your Pilates mat work, it will work great. And then they also have a cloud embrace bra, even softer with the support you know and love from Honey Love. That is going to be the next one that I want to try. Honey Love is smoothing, so you never will see wrinkles or any bunching under your clothes. It is supportive. It will give you a little bit of lift without any underwire involved, so it's so comfortable. And I can tell you that it is beautiful. So go check them out. Again, I love the crossover bra. I love the cross flex. And then the next one I want to try is the cloud embrace. So remember, you can treat yourself to the most advanced bras and shapewear on the market. Use our exclusive link to save 20% off at Honeylove at honeylove.com/meetyourbody. That's honeylove.com/meetyourbody. After you check out, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Experience the new standard in comfort and support with Honeylove.
This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
All right, next on my list of things that give me a little hesitation or red flag in health and wellness and fitness is general misunderstandings around injuries and conditions. And please don't take this as me thinking everyone needs to be an expert. That is not the case necessarily at all. I understand that people have different expertise, they have different certifications. I don't expect everyone to understand everything when it comes to healthcare professionals and fitness professionals. What I do want is for those professionals to be able to admit when they don't know the details about an injury and maybe to go back to the nuance piece because it really involves that as well. But I have seen so many people come to me, again, defeated, feeling discouraged because they were given a specific plan or a specific program that didn't work for them or they feel like they failed at. And it's because they were given a program that there was no way they could achieve because of specific health conditions. So I'm going to give you a few examples. One that I see regularly is clients and women who will buy these like high intensity programs online. And a lot of this is happening online where there isn't necessarily a professional, one-on-one teaching or educating, or it's a program that's just been made for the masses. So it doesn't really apply to everyone. But women will come to me who have bought, like I said, kind of a high intensity program with the goal of losing weight or just trying to get into good health. They're trying to dip their toe into something good and create good habits. And so they think, oh, I got to go big, right? I'm going to do this. I'm going to get this program and do 30 minutes a day at home. And it is maybe high intensity cardio with some high intensity weightlifting. And after only a few days, these women, their systems kind of go haywire. They get very fatigued, very sore. They're out for days. Then they try it again a week later, the same thing happens. And so they feel very defeated. they come to me, Jessica, I wanted to do something, I wanted to move, but obviously I'm not meant to do that. Like that's the message that they bring to me. And what I get to educate and explain is that in many cases with their health history, we're talking and they say, oh yeah, and I happen to have lupus, or I happen to have chronic pain in this way, or I happen to have a number of autoimmune conditions. And I get to explain that is why your system went haywire. Let me tell you about energy conservation and how important that is when there's an autoimmune disease. Let me tell you about hyperreactivity and what happens with endometriosis or autoimmune conditions, where your body overreacts to workouts that it seems like everyone else can do. There is a reason for this. Like there is a very clear physiological reason for this. You didn't fail. You simply were trying a program that wasn't built for you, that wasn't made for you. You might be able to do it in the future. So let's start small. Let me give you certain things you can do and we will build to that. But you didn't fail. So that's one example I see actually regularly. Another one is going back to that pelvic floor prolapse issue is programs out there or people out there saying, oh, you can never work out again. You can never squat again. I have so many women come to me who have worked with personal trainers, like people who are educated, personal trainers, even other physical therapists who don't understand pelvic floor, who have told them, you can never squat, you can never do Pilates. I had someone just the other day who said that she saw a pelvic floor PT who she thought was good, but told her she might not be able to do Pilates again. And this is a Pilates instructor who has a prolapse, right? And someone is telling them, I don't think you can do Pilates again. Like she is fearful that she's going to not only lose her livelihood, but also her love of movement. And I got to say, you know what? No, there are ways you can still do so much Pilates. There might be certain moves that we need to watch out for, avoid, but Pilates is still available to you. And so that is a hard thing for me. And there isn't a clear way, I think, for you as the consumer to always know who's right and know who's wrong. And you can go back into my Overwhelmed with Health Advice podcast episode. I do talk about how to kind of discern who might be a trusted source. And I also want to say most of the people I'm talking about in this case actually do not have nefarious like motives, right? They are not trying to make you feel defeated. They are not trying to give you inaccurate information. It's either that they don't have the most current information, they haven't been there themselves, they're actually trying to protect you, so they're afraid movement might make it worse, so they're coming actually from a place kind of, oh no, don't do that. Or it's like I mentioned about those high intensity programs, they are just selling them to the masses, and it isn't necessarily meant to have that nuance that we talked about is important for certain medical conditions and certain individuals. So that is why it really is on the consumer to make sure that you find a program or a professional who understands your specific needs. And to me, the little red flag in this is one, someone telling you, oh, you just can't do that ever again, right? Like the clear, nope, you can never do that again. So maybe you've been a runner and you have a prolapse and they say you can never run ever again. Maybe, again, it's someone with chronic illness or autoimmune and you hear, oh no, you can never do cardio ever again. That is a little red flag in my mind of, well, no, we don't know that. You actually might be able to do that, but yeah, we have to work up to it. It means commitment on your part. It means individualized program. It means possibly going to an individual who's an expert first and getting a program and then working your way back into, right, the program for the masses. It might take some intention, but I don't tend to tell, like, I don't know if I've ever told anyone you can never do that ever again. Maybe a handful of times in very specific cases. So that is just something, again, to kind of keep in mind. If you have a specific condition, issue, injury, and you also have a really specific goal of movement, I would have it be a red flag. It's a pet peeve of mine when someone comes and tells you, nope, you can never do that. Like never, No. And then the other side is, again, if you have those individual needs, just know some of those programs made for the masses might not be applicable to you right now, but it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just means you might need some individual needs addressed first. All right, the next one, the next pet peeve is people who sell how their body looks. And what I mean by that is they use their aesthetics, right? How their body appears, they use that to sell their program. And I will tell you specifically why this is hard for me. And it is because you can never guarantee that someone will look just like you because they do what you do. So if you are trying to buy a program from someone because you want to look just like them and they are selling you that, that is a big red flag because there is absolutely no way to promise that or guarantee that because our looks are a amalgam of so many different factors. Our genetics, our age, our health history, our stress levels, our socioeconomic status, the accessibility that we have, or the access, I should say, that we have to healthcare, the access that we might have to enhancements such as Botox, such as other procedures. Again, none of those are bad. But those are just a few of the pieces that go into how someone looks. So when I see women specifically showing their bodies on their marketing material, and I don't mind if you show your body like that, again, that is 100% your choice. You do with your body what you will. You go, okay? It is when you use that image to sell a program and you're making a promise that by doing your program, other women will look like you. That is the red flag to me because there's simply no guarantee. So that's what I want you to take with you from this is just that discernment piece. And I talked about this actually on Instagram the other day because someone who I think has built a really impressive fitness platform. I will say that, okay? It's an impressive platform. It was an image of her body. So she was in a bikini. And the caption was selling their cortisol lowering program. My issue with that isn't her body by any means. It is the fact that there was an nonverbal promise that by buying their lower cortisol program, you could have her body. First off, again, you can't promise that. And second, honestly, one has nothing to do with the other. They were talking about lowering cortisol, but they were showing an image of a very specific body type. That's the marketing stuff that is a red flag and a hard thing for me. And I would say it's a pet peeve because of what it does to women. That is why, because I see the defeat, I see like the extra stress. And if you just think about that, like this was a program that they were trying to sell to help women decrease their stress. But I will tell you just personally, if I were to buy that program, it would be because I would be thinking, oh my gosh, I think I'm supposed to look like her. So I need to change my body to look like that image. Like that, I guess, is what lowering cortisol is about, which would actually end up increasing my stress. I just think we do women a disservice when we're making those either verbal or nonverbal promises by showing a specific body type and saying, hey, you can have this if you buy my program. So that was the next one. Number 5, making it overly complicated. This is a pet peeve and I'll say this is a personal pet peeve. When you make something overly complicated, I know from physical therapy, from all the work that I've done, and from scientific facts, that our brains actually aren't meant to hold the amount of information that we ask them to take in on a daily basis anymore. And that's not just scrolling social media and the news and all of that stuff that we're being fed, but it's also like rules around fitness and health. So from the most basic standpoint, I use this in physical therapy and in my training with clients all the time. I'm not going to give you 100 new things to do. I'm not going to make my programs overly complicated, because you know what happens when you give the brain too many things to do or focus on? It doesn't know how to prioritize. Your brain doesn't know to say, oh, I'll take these top 10. I'm going to do that today. I'm going to do those 10 tomorrow. Your brain actually says, I'm not going to do any of those. I'm sorry, this is too much. Done, shut down, never mind. And you might be able to relate. Have you ever been to a physical therapist? Because we are notorious for this, for giving you paper upon paper upon paper of exercises to do. Like, we just keep adding to them. So by the end of a couple weeks, you have a file full of exercises we've given you with good intentions, and you don't know how to prioritize. You don't know what's most important, what to do first, what to do last. And so you probably have stopped doing them all together. That is the problem with overcomplication. And so any, program out there that really does complicate things, like makes you buy a ton of equipment first, or makes you like start everything at once, I want to say. So we're talking, okay, you are going to buy this equipment, you're going to start a new program, you're going to do this in the morning, and you're going to do this at night, you're going to take this supplement, and then you have to fast. Like, all of that together can really shut us down. Instead of saying, you know what, here are a few steps you start first. Then once those are habits, then we can add more. I'm not saying there aren't a lot of things that we need to do. Sometimes there are, and it feels like it. But we need to do a little bit at a time to make them accessible, right? So overly complicating things so that you're just adding this extra barrier to entry, or you're making us overwhelmed before we even start, that one is hard. And it's the same thing when I'm making an appointment with a doctor, to be honest. If I call or email and like I don't get a response back, and I have to call again and call again, if I have to do numerous follow-ups, if you are making me upload every single possible form and a picture of my insurance and a picture of my driver's license before I even get there, and then you tell me I have to be 20 minutes early, like the more hoops you make me jump through before I get there, to be honest, the more I want to say, you know what, I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm sorry. And I even know, as a healthcare professional, I know I need to fill out those forms. But make it simple, make it accessible, make it approachable, so that we will follow through and do it. All right. And then my last one, and I'll review these. So first is judging others, judging other people without, or I should say, for their choices, especially if you've never been in their shoes. All right. Second, lack of nuance and individual considerations. And this goes for health, fitness, medicine, everywhere. Number 3, the misunderstanding around injuries and conditions. Number 4, people who sell basically or make promises about their program saying you will look this certain way if you do these things. And that goes for marketing. You might not even see that. Like, that might not be the message, but the message might be lose 10 pounds in 10 weeks. Like, guaranteed that you lose 10 pounds in 10 weeks. Guaranteed that you'll lose 2 dress sizes. Guaranteed that your hips will lose a certain way. Guaranteed that you'll lose the belly. Those are fit into the same category to me. You cannot promise that. And what happens when they make those promises and then they don't come true, it's not that you as a consumer blame them, it's that you as a consumer blame yourself. You feel like you failed and didn't do it right. And it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with they couldn't make that promise. Can't guarantee those things. Instead, look for messages like, you're going to feel stronger. You're going to feel more independent, right? Like, if you do these exercises consistently, you're going to have more energy, things that actually will be quantifiable for you and then will make you feel more encouraged to continue to do it. The next that we just talked about was making things overly complicated when you don't need to. I know health and fitness sometimes will be complicated. I understand that. I know sometimes there's a lot of steps, but making it overly complicated when we just don't need to. And I say we because I have been a part of the problem. We need to learn to simplify it and make it accessible to people. And then the last one is anytime I hear anyone say that their way is the only way, that's a little bit of a ding, 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 like red flag. It like gets under my skin a little bit. It might just be me. I'm a collaborative person. So it really might just be me, but I have a hard time hearing that because maybe this goes back to the nuance and the individual considerations. There can be more than one way. There can be more than one way to do something. And various clients are going to need different people because they might relate to someone else. They might just have a similar communication style to someone else. There are so many great people out there doing some really great things. And I have referred clients out to them because I've said, you know what? I am happy to work with you and I think I can help you, but I actually think this person will be able to help you more. Like they have more of what you need. Their skill set is specific to what you need. That to me is the key to really helping people is know when you can help them and how, but also knowing when they might need the help of someone else. And then they might even be able to come back. There are times I refer people out and say, you know what, I think you should go do this first. Like you have really specific osteoporosis concerns. I have someone for you to talk to. You have really specific nutrition concerns. I have someone for you to talk to. Then when you feel comfortable with that, come back to me. Come back to me in a month. Let me get you an unlimited. Let me get you a program. Here are some videos of mine that would really help. That is how we help individuals, is that we have their best needs in mind. And saying that your program is the only way, like this way that I created is the only thing that's going to help you, that's not collaboration. And that's not necessarily keeping nuance in mind and individualism in mind. And so that to me personally, when I hear that, if I see it in messaging, if I hear it from someone, it's just a little bit of a, I'm going to keep that in mind moving forward. I don't know if I'm going to relate to that really well. And those are mine. Those are my, again, pet peeves, little red flags, the things that stop me in my tracks. Oh, I could call this episode Things That Make You Go, hmm. Maybe that's what I should call the episode. Things that make you go, yeah, I don't know about that. And you might have your own. And to be honest, this list, it isn't something I like grind on or I think, this makes me so frustrated. It's more that this is a list that helps me then discern who I want to listen to, who I want to follow, who I want to trust. And it helps me kind of take the other voices out of it. Like there might even be voices out there in marketing and online, social media, even professional in-person colleagues who I compare myself to or who I think maybe I should be more like that. And then one of these will come up and I'll say, no, these are my values. This is what's important to me. I don't need to put myself in that category. So it's actually really helpful to me from that discerning standpoint and that comparing standpoint to say, these are kind of the values I stand on. It is okay if other people don't, but these are mine. So I know who I want to hang my hat with, right? Who I want to link arms with, who I can refer my clients to, and how I can act in integrity in my own profession. So thanks for sticking around. Thanks for listing them out. And I do recommend if you are having a hard time kind of being overwhelmed with health advice or not knowing who to listen to, that maybe you make your own list. Maybe a few things that you clarify for yourself of what makes you think, I don't know, I'm not really comfortable with that. Write them down. It might just help you have some more discernment going forward, which also just helps you be an advocate for yourself. All right. Thanks so much for being here, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks so much for listening today. I would love it if you could take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. It means a lot to us and it helps our content get out to more women who need it. You can find more of my resources at my website, jessicavalant.com, or find me on YouTube at Jessica Valant and Instagram at Jessica S. Valant.